It's a sad day today. Lauren Southern quit YouTube. So, recently, over the last few weeks, Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux have been a bit of a topic throughout New Zealand and Australian news outlets. They've basically come to our countries to sort of just express their views, create discussion, and open up people's opinions and eyes with certain topics. Obviously, the news loves to grab onto things and take things out of context, as always. We know that they tend to do that a lot. But I think that in this case, it was really unjustified. Lauren and Stefan seem to bring a lot of data to back them up in arguments, and the news would basically be like, but you're a racist, or you hate this, or you hate that, and they would have this predisposed opinion on these people rather than open up a discussion to ensure that everybody was sort of contributing to the conversation itself. But rather than being educated and acknowledging the topics that were brought to the table, the news representatives sort of wanted to portray Lauren and Stefan as these monsters. Now, a lot of the time, these guys tend to have riots, they tend to have people protesting their speeches, which I think's an absolute shame, because to understand an argument, you need to see both sides of a picture, or in some cases, all sides of the picture. In this case, people tended to sort of want to create drama out of something that wasn't there, and I think it's a real shame. Now, this is a great example of Lauren and how she talks.
So I've been on the ground. I've seen what has happened to these areas. I've seen what the suburbs of Paris look like, where the police told me, if you walk in there, we can't help you. And I can tell you, if this continues, it doesn't matter if it happens in the next 10 years, the next 50 years, or the next 100 years. My children, my grandchildren are not going to have a future where they have the same privilege we have in the Western world, the same rights we have, the same values.
People who have also assimilated to New Zealand culture.
Yes, you're right. We have a problem with progressives that are trying to change the values that made our culture great before. But the individuals that founded most of the Western world did believe in these values, and they're the only reason that progressives even have the rights and the abilities to question the previous laws. And right now, if you go and you do it, you can look at Pew Research. You don't have to take my word for it. That's the thing. You can look at the Pew Research interviews with certainly Islamic immigrants, what their views are on women's rights, what their views are on LGBT rights. Try doing a pride parade through Molenbeek. Try doing a pride parade through Lakemba. It's just completely at odds with everything we value here in the Western world. And New Zealand and Australia are a part of that Western world, and I want to defend that just as much as I want to defend Canada.
People with different values and beliefs can live and exist side by side.
They don't. We see people segregating, self-segregating into areas. We might as well have balkanized states within our country. I know for a fact that, I went to this area called Lakemba today, and it's almost an entirely Islamic area. We self-segregate into what our values and our laws and religions are for the most part.
I mean, it's natural for, if Somalis come to Auckland, for people to live together because they share a language, they miss home. That doesn't mean that they want to create a little Somalia and
they do
take over Auckland.
Well, and that's the thing. They do create their own little communities, and if they become the majority,
but then if you think like that,
but you can look at it happen.
Threat.
You don't have, there are a lot of threats to our civilization, and we need to really take that into consideration and take it seriously, because don't take my word for it. Go to Marxloh yourself in Germany and look at the area there and tell me, are they speaking German there? Go to Molenbeek yourself, where they hid the Belgian bomb. And the problem here is, too, that every people has a right to their sovereignty and to the laws they want and the way that they want to run their country. But for some reason, every country has a right to that and to protect their identity, except for Western nations. No one has a problem that Japan really protects its borders and doesn't let mass immigration in and doesn't have this mantra of diversity. No one has an issue with that. But for some reason, when Canadians, when Swedes want to protect their culture and their identity and their future and their laws, everyone has an issue with that. Why can't we just give the same respect for the protection of culture to Western nations as we do the rest of the world?
To me, this statement here, which is a segment of an interview that they've uploaded onto Stefan's channel, linked down below, I feel that Lauren is communicating very well, and she's explaining her side very well and trying to explain that, yes, we do have a problem in Western culture with the fact that, Western people are not allowed to defend their own culture like other people do, or white people specifically, and B, there is a lot of immigration coming in which is distorting the culture and potentially distorting our future's rights. And I think that that's Lauren's main contention. It's not the fact that she hates these certain groups, it's the fact that she has a general concern that our culture will be diminished by these certain groups. And I think it's fair to sort of look into like that, because like we've seen it in Rome, we've seen it in so many countries that has happened. We're seeing it in England right now, that English culture is sort of fading away, whereas Islam is taking over a little bit. And I think that it's important to sort of bring these forward before it's too late, because if you let something go for the sake of not wanting to offend people, then the issue can snowball later, making it a much greater issue. I've also personally met people who are from different cultures who say things about our culture like, we should change this, we should change that. I had this friend from Brazil who would be like, your food is shit here, you shouldn't eat it, you guys are terrible, you guys have no culture and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, yes, we do actually have culture, but the problem is nobody is actually respecting the fact that we have culture by throwing their culture over our culture. Like, it's good to share culture. I love the fact that we can share culture, but I think that the biggest problem is sometimes we get smothered by other people's culture while they refuse to respect ours. And I think that that's what Lauren's trying to say. I don't think she's saying that we shouldn't let these people in at all. I think she's saying that we should be a bit more protective and ensure that we are looking after our own culture firsthand. Anyway, I guess I will leave it at that.
I'm the fucking man, y'all don't get it, do you? Type of money, everybody acting like they knew ya. Go uptown, New York City, bitch. Some Spanish girls love me like I'm out with Twitter. Tell Uncle Luke I'm out in Miami too. Clubbing hard, fucking women, ain't much to do. Wrist playing, got a condo up on Biscayne. Still getting brain from a thing, ain't shit changed.